Unlike most of us, some narcissistic abuse victims feel uncomfortable in clean spaces, and you're about to find out why.
Everything in here as it should be?
I don't know why I forgot.
Well, we all forget things. That's what reminding is for.
It's not because they don't appreciate cleanliness or order. Deep down, they probably crave it just like anyone else. But for them, clean sometimes feels less like peace and more like danger or pressure. Today, we're going to dive into the 9 reasons why narcissistic abuse victims feel uncomfortable in clean spaces. Are you ready for number 1? They feel exposed in clean spaces. In chaotic, cluttered environments, there's a strange comfort in the mess. It creates a sense of hiding. But when the space is clean and everything is in its place, it's like you're exposed. Dr. Carol McBride, a therapist and author of Will I Ever Be Free of You, explains that for those who've experienced narcissistic abuse, being seen can feel like a threat, not a relief. It's as if the tidiness takes away the safety net that clutter once provided. When there's nowhere to hide, all the vulnerabilities and past hurts come to the surface. It makes the stillness feel uncomfortable, not peaceful. The clean space becomes a mirror reflecting all those unresolved feelings. And for someone who's been through trauma, that can feel terrifying rather than comforting. Let's talk about number 2. Hypervigilance needs something to monitor. Have you ever felt like you're waiting for something bad to happen when everything is calm? Your brain, trained by constant emotional chaos, is always on alert, scanning for any sign of danger, even when there is none. According to trauma expert Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, this state of being hyper-aware is a survival mechanism that kicks in when you've been conditioned to expect unpredictability and threats. So when you're in a calm, clean, and organized environment, your mind can't help but search for something to monitor. Anything that could be a threat. The stillness can feel like a trap because it's too quiet, too perfect. It leaves you with that uncomfortable feeling of being on edge for no obvious reason. Let's move on to number 3. They fear judgment for not maintaining. Clean spaces can feel like a standard you're forced to maintain. When you've been constantly criticized, you learn to fear that one wrong move will bring punishment or harsh judgment. Dr. Patricia Evans, author of The Verbally Abusive Relationship, explains that narcissistic abuse often conditions victims to believe they're always being watched, and anything less than perfection will lead to criticism or even emotional attacks. So, when you walk into a clean, organized space, it's not just about keeping things neat. It becomes about avoiding the fallout of making a mistake. The neatness can feel more like a burden than a comfort because it carries the weight of keeping up appearances, making it hard to relax or feel at ease. Now, let's continue to number 4. Cleanliness was performative, not comforting. In narcissistic homes, cleanliness wasn't about creating a peaceful, comfortable space, but about keeping up appearances. The focus was always on how things looked to outsiders, not how they felt to the people living there. As Dr. Lindsay C. Gibson, a psychologist and author, explains in her book, Adult Children of Narcissists, narcissistic environments often emphasize the image of perfection rather than actual emotional safety or comfort. It's hard to shake the feeling that the neatness is just for show, something to impress others, not to make you feel at home. And with that mindset, The cleanliness becomes a reminder of the fakeness you experienced. It makes it tough to relax and enjoy your surroundings. You shouldn't miss number 5. They were punished in perfect spaces. Some narcissists take pride in keeping everything spotless, but in those pristine environments, abuse often took place. The environment was never about warmth or relaxation. It was about control. As Dr. Sherry Schreiber, a therapist and author, explains in her book, How to Handle a Narcissist, narcissists use their clean, perfect spaces as a way to impose order and power, and to create an environment that feels sterile and unwelcoming. So now, when you encounter a spotless space, your brain might automatically associate it with coldness, emotional repression, and even cruelty rather than comfort or safety. It's hard to feel at ease when that level of perfection was once the backdrop for emotional harm. The shiny surfaces don't invite rest. They invite tension, making it tough to shake the feeling that something is wrong. Are you still up for number 6? Guilt and feelings of unworthiness. Do you ever look at a clean, organized space and feel like you're not supposed to be there? The neatness and tranquility in a space might feel like a luxury meant for others, not someone who's been made to feel small or unimportant. In fact, clean spaces can be a constant reminder of how different life could be, triggering feelings of discomfort because it feels too good for them. As psychologist Dr. Sherry Campbell notes, narcissistic abuse often leaves victims with deep-seated guilt and a warped sense of self-worth. It's like the mind believes that serenity is for someone else, not for someone who has been constantly belittled and emotionally battered. You might find yourself feeling like an intruder in your own life, questioning if you even deserve calm and comfort. Sometimes, you might even look for ways to mess it up a little, just so it feels more familiar and less intimidating. But the truth is, you deserve peaceful spaces just as much as anyone else, and it's okay to slowly teach yourself to feel safe in them. Let's keep it moving to number 7. Clean reminds them of absence. While the lack of chaos might seem like a good thing, it can actually trigger a sense of emotional absence. According to Dr. Laura Berman, a therapist and author, trauma survivors often associate empty, overly neat spaces with a lack of emotional warmth and connection. The absence of clutter, noise, or any kind of messiness feels like a vacuum, a space where people don't truly live. It's like stepping into a beautiful room where no one has ever made memories. No one has ever fought or laughed or even just been imperfect. That emptiness can bring up feelings of isolation and loneliness. It reminds you of the emotional void that can come with narcissistic abuse, where everything looked perfect on the outside but was hollow on the inside. Here comes number 8. They associate cleanliness with emotional neglect. A pristine, well-kept space can bring up painful memories of emotional neglect. Dr. Craig Melkin, a psychologist and author of Rethinking Narcissism, explains that in narcissistic families, the physical environment may have been in perfect order, but the emotional atmosphere was cold and unresponsive. So now, when you walk into a clean space, it can feel like the same emotional neglect you experienced in childhood. Everything looks perfect, but there's nothing to nurture your feelings. The cleanliness becomes a painful reminder that while appearances were carefully maintained, emotional care was completely absent. It's like standing inside a beautiful house that never felt like a home. Your brain picks up on the coldness, even if everything looks inviting. Without even realizing it, your body tenses up, preparing for the loneliness or rejection you once learned to expect. Finally, we're down to number 9. They equate comfort with vulnerability. Clean and peaceful spaces are supposed to make you feel calm and relaxed. But for someone who's been hurt, that calm can feel like the exact opposite. Dr. Judith Orloff, a psychiatrist and author of the Empath Survival Guide, explains that after experiencing trauma, especially narcissistic abuse, relaxation and comfort often come with the feeling of vulnerability. You've been conditioned to expect betrayal the moment you let your guard down. So, even in a beautiful, serene space, your mind is still on high alert, thinking, "What's coming next?" Instead of feeling at ease, you might feel like you're inviting danger. The brain has learned to associate peace with vulnerability, and that can make it hard to truly enjoy moments of relaxation or comfort in clean spaces. So, if clean spaces make you feel a little uneasy, you're not crazy. You're just carrying old wounds that still whisper in quiet rooms. You don't have to judge yourself for it. You just have to understand where it's coming from. Little by little, you can teach yourself that peace doesn't have to feel like danger anymore.